Welcome to Business Central Launch Event 2024 Release Wave 1. Today we will talk what is new in our module e-documents. And before we start, first let's introduce ourselves. So, my colleague.
Hello, I am Magnus and I am a software engineer at Business Central. And today I have with me.
My name is Alexander Totovic and I'm product manager, and both of us we work on this nice, amazing functionality about e-documents, and now this is the second wave, so we want to show what is really new here. Agenda for today is, actually this is really short. We will first remind you what we deliver previous wave, some overview. After that we will focus what is new briefly, but the most important is to show you full demo end-to-end scenario so you can see in a practice what is really new. Okay, before we start with all these new things, I want to remind you, when we decided last wave to start with e-documents module, we were thinking if we will start as a part of base app or not, and our decision was no, we will go with a new app, so we deliver e-document core app. But if you can see this light blue in a base app, yes, some part of e-documents are still in the base app, and this is because we didn't want to make some breaking changes for existing electronic document solutions, because we have many of partner-based localizations in some non-Microsoft supported countries that we already have introduced e-invoicing. So we didn't want to make all these breaking changes, so we adapted what was necessary in a base app, but our main focus was on e-document core app. We tried to put what is really common in this app, but then on top of that app, we made another app for connection with third-party access points service providers. Together with this app, we cannot say 100% sure, but in general we are looking to have more than 80% of all features you will need in documents. After that, some small things, adaptations, are still related with specific localizations. Maybe something is missing here, and we are listening to your feedback, so if we need to improve something, and we know that we need to improve some things to add some new features, and we are doing this, and yes, this is what we are talking today about that. But let's look, this is basic framework, common and plus integration with external services. What you expected and what Microsoft is doing on top of that, we already deliver some localizations, and we are planning to deliver more localization on top of that as independent local apps. And we expect this from partners as well, from you, to make your own localizations, and not only localizations. Sometimes you want to extend Microsoft localization, for example, in Denmark or Belgium, whenever we have, and you can add some specific industry solutions, and on top of that, maybe some additional documents, or even if you look in these third-party access points, if you are ISV, if you are service provider, you can enable some additional documents. Maybe you will enable quotes or orders, exchange of these documents, so we are good with that. We have good framework, and we deliver the basic functionality about invoices, but now you can build more if you need. I don't want to explain all these details what we have in our solution about all corner models, how we support. In general, we can support 2 corner, 3 corners, 4 corner models, and let's imagine that 4 corner model is the most complicated one. And I just want to remind you not about how we exchange documents, but how we are exchanging messages, because this is important, and this is especially important when we talk about these third-party access point providers. So we are exchanging different type of messages through them. And in general, let's imagine now we are sender, we are seller, and we have our internal messaging system inside the Business Central. We assume something similar exists in a receiver ERP, or if our receiver is Business Central user, we are pretty sure it exists there, we know we made it. So inside the Business Central, we have internal messaging system. But then this messaging system communicates with access points, with third-party services. And now in some cases, we are connected with definitely third-party access points because there's a Peppol or some other rules. In some situations, governments do not allow us to connect directly with their services. In some countries, this is possible, so we cannot say all the time when we can directly connect or not. But in general, in almost all these situations, we have communication with some services. So now we have communication in both directions. When receiver get a document, they need to approve or reject. So they are sending this message to receiver access points. In the meantime, our Business Central as a seller, we communicate all the time with our access point, listening and expecting some new message to get. And if receiver approve, this message will be exchanged between receiver access point and our access point, that means sender access point, and we will listening, we will collect this information and get it back to Business Central. This is important, understanding how all these messaging are functional. So this is important part. This is not only sending and receiving documents. Messaging is important. We need to know if our customer received, rejected, or some other status document. So now I will go further what is new. I will briefly explain what is new because my colleague Magnus will explain much more in details in the demo. First, what we deliver. We deliver Peppol format support. Why? Because of your feedback. When we created first framework, we didn't support any format, so you were expected to build your own format you want to use, and based on your feedback, we conclude this is not the best design. Not design. This is not the best user experience because you needed something to test it. So now we decided let's bring Peppol BIS3 because this is the most used format globally, and we went one step further. We say, if we want to deliver this, let's make in both of types. We can communicate different types of formats, so you can see good role models, so you can decide what is better for you. We deliver this as a code, so pure code. You have in a code how to communicate in Peppol, how to create actually Peppol documents, how to use it, but we also added data exchange definition. So if you choose data exchange definition, you will get additional FASTA where you need to map all your incoming and delivering documents, purchase and sales documents with specific definitions. Then we have the next thing is about connection. I mentioned all these messages with external access points, but now what is about? We created this app as a connector with third-party services. There is authentication model, communication model, as I already show, messaging model. So all of these things are inside this app. Currently, we are supporting only one access point, but we are planning to add more access points there. And completed functionality is extendable, so you can easily build your own app. And we will talk a little bit more on the end about how to extend, how to build your own app to use this functionality for your services. Especially if this is some local service, you can easily extend it. What is important more, not this is only that this is possible to extend, you can easily connect with a setup, with choosing everything there, or you can pre-configure when you run service, you can automatically get all information, so you just need to enter your credentials and it will work. And of course, as we are using third-party access points, from the moment when you choose from non-integration to this one, current integration, or eventually tomorrow more integration, you will get consent. This is required because you are moving outside of Business Central. What else? We deliver some localizations, and this is not where we stop. In this moment, we deliver localization for Denmark, both of formats OUBL and Peppol, so you can choose both of them. In the Danish environment, when you go to document types, you can choose Peppol, document exchange, and OUBL. In Belgium, we deliver Peppol formats, so this is currently fully compliant with Danish and Belgium requirements and regulations. But now we are planning additional localizations. I cannot say exactly when. It depends of enforcement from country to country, but minimum what we are planning in next 2 waves. We have planned German localization, Spanish localization, and Australia, New Zealand localization as well. Actually, for Australia and New Zealand, we are using Peppol, but this is not BIS3, so we need to adapt Peppol format for Australia and New Zealand, and this is something what we are planning to do. But even more, we already have from previous times, we have some legacy e-documents, e-invoices or e-documents in Italy and Mexico. So we are planning in following period to upgrade Italian and Mexican functionality to new e-documents. So everything depends, we will challenge ourselves, and depends how we did a great job or not, or we need to improve something more, but we want to upgrade our existing function, our existing localization, and to make new localizations. What else? One big feature. We had a, let's say, small issue with previous one. Making sales invoice, sales electronic invoice, it was, let's say, easy. You post sales document, we have some, let's say, wizard the background, we will create this in a Peppol format, we will send, and let's say this is easy. Not so bad, not so complicated. But when it comes to purchase process, it becomes much more complicated. And what we can see, more and more countries enforcing electronic invoicing, they do not enforce immediately to have, from this year, for example, sales invoice in electronic, but they are enforcing to receive invoices. So this purchase part was extremely important for us. In this first release, we could create, when you get electronic document, we could create automation to automatically create purchase invoices in Business Central, but we couldn't handle with purchase orders. And it was a problem if you are working with a lot of inventory, you want to have already created purchase order, and now you need to match, and it was a problem. We didn't have it. But now, again, based on your feedback, it was one of the most important things you asked, and we delivered this functionality. Now with the new release, you can match without any problem. Actually, what you can do, if there is no purchase order in your system, and you decide you want to create purchase order for this vendor, system will automatically create new purchase order based on the same rules as for purchase invoice. It just depends how you will set up your vendor. But if for this vendor there is some existing purchase order, system will map incoming electronic documents with this existing purchase order. And matching will work one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, so you will see in demo how you can do it. Of course, we built Copilot on top of that, but all the time there are some reasons if you cannot use Copilot, so you can use manually matching, so you are not blocked if you cannot use Copilot for some reason. And I'm planning to finish my part of presentation, but before that I want to emphasize one important thing. Contoso demo tool. In the beginning, we had just few modules there, but we decided let's bring more and more to partner and to customer to test it. Now we deliver e-documents demo data. So we have full module for e-documents with e-documents information. What you have there? We have new items and pretty big number of items, so you can make good examples there. And what is more? This is completely ready for sales process. We already have configured customers with workflows, so you can just post sales invoice and you can track how it looked like in a sales process in e-documents, what is happening with logs and so, and you will see from my colleague in demo. But this is already ready for purchase process. What you have there, already imported files. You do not need to make some Peppol files to test it. You will have already created incoming electronic documents with imported files, so you can easily test manually matching or even matching with Copilot. So everything is there. What is important just to know before enable, you need to have, because there is dependency, you need to first enable common module and warehouse module. After that, you need to enable e-document module and everything will work. Everything will be there, so you can just start and use it. And okay, that was about what is new, briefly what is new. Now, Magnus, please make it much better. It's a great demo. I know you prepared.
Thanks, Alexander. Yeah, I got the fun role of actually demoing a lot of the stuff that we have for you. I will start where Alexander left us off with the demo data that we have for the e-document framework. So to do so, I will go to Contoso demo tool. I will open it up, and here we can see the new e-document Contoso module that we have added for this release. And this module provides you, as Alexander briefly explained, with some new items that you can use, as well as all the setup that we need today for the demo for both sales and purchase processes. So I'm going to go ahead and click Generate. This shouldn't take very long. And while that's generating, I can also just briefly say that this will also create a default e-document service that we're going to be using today. So really there is not a lot you have to set up if you want to test it out yourself. Just go here, generate the demo data, and you should be getting started very, very fast. So with that done, let's go to the e-document services. We have them here. And we can see that we now have a new service that we can use. And I will just open it up and we'll take a look. Here we can see that the document format that we are actually providing in the framework is the Peppol format. And this is something that is in two types of solutions. One of them is a code solution, which is based on existing XML ports we had in the product. And we also decided to add a data exchange version, or data exchange solution, so to speak. And this we will go and select, and I'll show you how to set it up. So under the data exchange definition, we will now have to go and actually set up what types of documents we want to use with the data exchange. And today I'm doing two things. I'm doing a sales process and I'm doing a purchase process. And to do so, I need to define a sales invoice. And for that sales invoice, I need to go under the export data exchange definition. And I need to select sales invoice export here. And this is one of the formats that we provide for you out of the box for free. Super cool. And then we can also go and create for purchase process a purchase invoice here. I'll just select it. And then for the import data exchange definition, I'll have to go and select the format that is called e-document Peppol invoice import. And that's essentially all you need to configure for getting this to work with the data exchange. One thing you do need to know and need to do is also to go to supported document types on the document service here. And here you need to select those types of documents that should work together with this service. You can see we are already pre-filled for sales and services. So I'm just gonna go ahead and also add purchase invoice and purchase credit memo like this. And that's essentially everything you need to get started trying this out yourself. One thing I will note, and as Alexander also briefly mentioned before, today we don't have a service integration. You can see it's set to no integration. Normally when you have a service in a production environment, you would have set up some kind of service integration implementation here to an external third party. But today we won't send or receive any documents. We already have those from generating the demo data. So that's super nice. You don't need to deal with all that. I will now do the sales process. And to start that, I will go to one of our customers. Because one thing I do need to do is I need to make sure that on this customer, we have a document sending profile selected that has e-documents enabled. And of course, in the demo data, we are also providing this for you. So you can just use the e-documents document sending profile. That's it. Now we can go and create a sales invoice. And because we're using Peppol, I need to fill in a reference number. For today's demo, I'm just going to use 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't really matter. But normally you would actually have a reference to an order here if you need that. And then I'm going to select a desk. And I'm gonna just put one in quantity here. And that's essentially everything I need. I'm just gonna post the invoice. That should be rather fast. Let's see. Yes. And now we can go to the posted invoice. And what happened in the background, because the framework is actually running in background jobs. And what we are providing with the demo data is that we have actually added a workflow that is enabled, that is connected to the e-document service that we are also providing. And basically we will subscribe to the posting routine, and whenever you post a supported document type for this service, we will pick it up and run this workflow, execute the workflow, and essentially that will then export the sales invoice in the format that you selected. Had you had a service integration at the end, it would also have sent it off to that. So if we go to the related tab and click on the e-documents, open e-document, we will now have a e-document that we can inspect. Here we can see under the document field that it is pointing to the sales invoice. It is processed. We can even see what workflow was executed with, as well as the service status, right? So here we have the e-documents service that we are using today, and we can see that the status of this is exported. If we look under the logs, Here we have only a single log today. This is that it was exported. But every step of the way would be logged so that you can easily audit what is going on with an e-document. We can also see that it actually has a file size. And this allows you to, or when there is a file size, you can go under the export file action and actually download the output and inspect it if you want to. So I will not do that, but I will close this one and just briefly mention that if we had a service integration, it would also contain a log that would say that it was sent somewhere or it was pending to be sent, or depending on how you have your implementation. And that's it. All of this happened in the background. The user that's posting the invoice doesn't have to go and look at this. As said, it happens in a background job. But now we showed you where you can find it if you're interested. Then we're going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to jump back to the role center, and we're going to look at a purchase process, which is where we actually invested a lot of the time this wave with what Alexander mentioned, matching e-document lines to purchase orders. That's a really cool process, so we will look at that one. And one thing that we added on the role center is these new cue cards under the e-document activities. Here you can see that we have one of them called matched purchase orders. And this is essentially purchase orders in the system where we have received an e-document from outside, received it into the system, and we managed to find that there is a link to one of your existing purchase orders. And we automatically link it, and then we make you aware here that now there is an action for you to go and actually match the e-document lines to the purchase order lines. So I'll click these, and we can then see we have these 6. And this is all generated by our fantastic demo data. So you don't need to set a lot of stuff up. You can just go directly and try out this scenario from the role center. And as you can see, we have this action called map e-document in the top, which I will click in a second. But before I do so, for this environment I'm on, I haven't enabled our Copilot features. If you're interested in the new Copilot stuff we're doing, I think personally it's very cool. I would definitely recommend you to watch another session we have called E-Invoicing with Copilot. It is like super interesting to see this process I'm about to do manually can be done with a simple click almost. It saves you a lot of time and something we're very excited to ship. So definitely go check out that session. It's worth it. After, of course, you've watched the rest of this. So I'll go and click Map e-document. We'll open up the matching page. And now I'll just briefly explain what you're seeing here. If you have seen bank reconciliation matching before, this is built around the same concept, so it should be pretty familiar to you. If not, on the left we have our e-document lines. This is what we've read in from file. And on the right we have our purchase order lines. And the task for the user in this sense is to match everything that is on the left to something that is on the right, such that you can go and update the purchase order and do either full or partial invoice. So let's take a look. We can see on the e-document imported lines here that we have a field quantity and we have a field matched quantity, right? So our task is to actually have a matched quantity that is equal to quantity. So it's a very cool stuff. You can multi-select 3 or more if you want. I know that these first 3 lines, line 10,000, 20,000 and 30,000, are all something that is related to the precision grind home. Of course, I prepared the demo, so I will click these 2, and then I will go under the matching action here and click match manually. And this will then highlight them. A green color means that it's a complete match. We can see that the available quantity was 15, meaning there was 15 we could assign to. We've now assigned 10 because the quantity to invoice is updated to 10. We can also see that match quantity on the left here is the same as quantity, and we can even go and click this to inspect in more detail what the match is. So let's try that. We see that we have a match between line 30,000 to 10,000. we are showing you what the two descriptions are, because sometimes the descriptions are not similar. This is something that the Copilot is really strong helping us with if we have items that are not exactly the same but similar. We can also see that we have a match quantity, and as well what is the cost of the e-document, or what was the cost on the e-document line, and what was the cost on the purchase order line. Sometimes, in this case, they are the same. Sometimes they can be different, and that is okay. We do allow for you to do a matching where the cost is not exactly the same. We will notify you just to make sure that that is actually what you want. And if you go ahead and apply to purchase order, we will then update the purchase order lines with that cost you received, such that you can invoice correctly. So I'll close this, and I'll just quickly mention, as Alexander also said, we allow for a many to one that I illustrated here, selecting 3, matching to 1. You can also do a many or one to many, let's say, where you select multiple purchase order lines and only match to a single e-document line. But the last one here, I am just gonna match the luxury grinder to smart grind home, and this is a one-to-one simple. And now everything on the left is green. That is good. That means that we have matched all of them. And the final thing for me to do is simply to go to home and click apply to purchase order. As I said, this will then update the purchase order lines to give them the correct cost as well as discount. It will also update the quantity to invoice. And the final thing we will do is that we will update the vendor invoice number. Let's see that. Go to here, you can see that the vendor invoice number is now updated with the e-document number, as well as the document date has also been updated to reflect what was on the e-document. And that's it. That's essentially the purchase process in a nutshell. You could go ahead and post it. I won't do that now. I will hand it back to my colleague Alexander, who will tell us a little bit more about if you want to extend and build on top of our framework.
Yeah. Great demo, Magnus. Thank you. And as you can see, a really big automation, even if you're doing manually, you just need to connect there and system will automatically collect all this information from incoming document to vendor document number, date, update all lines. This is still big automation, even if you are doing manually. And this is the most important, not only big automation, this is not now this is not even blocker. So now you can use everything as a standard is used earlier in Business Central together with e-documents. Okay, instead of wrapping up, we would like to extend this topic for a few minutes, because this is important. We want to show you and we want to encourage you to extend this functionality, maybe with some additional features. Even we will continue to invest adding some additional features there, but probably much more important, making localization, especially in partner-based localization countries. So the most of our supporting countries have partner-based localization. So make your localization on top of this solution. This is much better than anything else you used earlier making. Even if you have some electronic invoicing inside, this is much better using this framework. There are much more automation, so you can just add format, connection to service, and it will work. And this is one part. Another part is if you are access point service provider, if you are a Peppol provider or a local service provider, build your own app for as a connector to your services, and it will be easy used for all other partners. So you can see this link, and there is documentation how to extend this e-document functionality. When you go there, you will find that we have document format interface for create and receive documents. You can understand this is in one or another direction what is happening with documents. Then we have integration interface for sending, receiving, messaging. This is what we already talked about. And there are a set of e-document helper code units. So you can find a lot of interesting information, a lot of important information there. Of course, all the time we can say we can improve it, and give us the feedback, and we will try to improve documentation to make it much better for you. And now I will give a word for my colleague Magnus to explain in a few minutes a little bit more technically what we have there and how you can use these interfaces.
Yeah. I think we should also mention that if you build your own extension on top, you get the Copilot feature as well. Yes. Natively, it will work. So that's super cool. Let's recap a little bit of the process that I showed you for both sales and vice versa purchase. So essentially, we have a BC document that we need to send to some authority endpoint, usually. And we created e-documents such that you take a Business Central document, you use an export format to create this into an electronic document version. And then we have our service integration or integration implementation that then decides how we send this out to an authority endpoint. And vice versa, when we receive something, again, we're using the integration implementation to actually get the data from a provider into an electronic document, and then we use an import document format to translate that back into a Business Central document. What the framework provides out of the box for export and import is that you can also do these field mappings. So say that before you export or before you import, you want to translate some values. You can do so under the service. You can specify this as a setting and define it yourself. As we saw when I did post the sales invoice, everything is running in background jobs, so it's not disturbing. It's not requiring anything from those people that are invoicing or working with the documents on a day-to-day basis. Everything is running smoothly in the background. Then we also make sure that we log everything, and again, this is because that you can audit what is happening with the e-documents, so there is a trail, so you can see exactly what is the current state of a specific electronic document. We also allow you to set up retention policies so that you can actually decide for how long you want to store data before we clean it up, because some of these tables can get quite big, and that's maybe not in the best interest for you. Finally, we also do error handling for you in the framework. Should there be a runtime error in the AL code, then we will catch it. Basically, if you want to allow or tell the users about some error that you want to throw or want to do, you can basically use our helper code units to log errors that will then be presented on the e-document page. Finally, we have a dashboard, and as you saw before I used it, the cue cards, where you can then gauge what is the current status of the e-documents. Are there any that you need to take action on? For instance, do we have any new purchase orders that are matched, right? This is all something that we provide. What we ask of you, if you're interested in building on top of this, the things I just mentioned, they are here in blue. Then we have our two interfaces, both for import-export. That's one interface where you define how specifically you want to read data out of BC and back into, as well as how you want to communicate. That is the integration implementation that you will make. So that is the core framework. And then, of course, the localization, like the Danish one that we also shipped, we actually just implement these two interfaces. And that's it. It's a very straightforward, simple thing to do. One thing that we also allow you to do is to build a setup wizard. Sometimes there are some administrative setups that you need to do for a service. You can then add this on top to make it easier for the users that you're building the extension for. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Alexander, to close out the session.
Thank you, Magnus. As you can see, we have definitely great documentation and great idea how to extend it. And of course, if you find something is missing, please contact us. We are more than open to help all partners to build their own apps and to extend this functionality. And now we just want to call you to watch some other presentations. As Magnus already mentioned, we have introducing to E-invoicing matching with Copilot. Great session. This part about matching, what Magnus explained, but this time with Copilot, fully automated, a really useful usage of Copilot in great examples. And additional one is, if you are coming from Denmark, we updated new session with Danish Bookkeeping Act features, because there are some new things in the meantime happened from previous wave. So we want to be clear about that. Even if we had the office hours, we want to give more information about new Danish Bookkeeping Act. And now, please use our Yammer, aka MSBC Yammer. We have our channels there, different channels. We are open for communication, for feedback, whatever you want to communicate directly with product group. Then we are open communication on Twitter or X. Please join our office hours every month. We have good office hours, and use BC ideas, AKMS BC ideas. We are looking every time when you publish, when you put some idea, some of program managers, we are getting these ideas in our DevOps. So we know what you're asking. We are tracking. We are looking to deliver this. We cannot deliver everything, of course, but we are looking to deliver as more as possible, and we are looking on your feedback, on your ideas, on votes, and so on. And if you cannot remember all these URLs, please do not forget this one, AKMS All. So going there, you can find not only these 4 links, but much more, dozens of different links with very important and interesting resources about Busy Central. And yeah, we can say this is everything for what we planned for this session. We can say thank you, but we hope we will see you on live Q&A 1 week after this launch event. So we will be open, both Magnus and I, we will be there, and you can ask everything in live, face to face. We will talk. So use this opportunity. Once more, thank you.
Thank you.